everybody, and welcome back to another episode of
A Fan's Perspective.
How you doing today, Shell?
I'm wonderful, my beautiful brother. How about yourself?
I cannot complain. Still playing The Last of Us Part 2. Still not anywhere really near the end. Well, no, I'm closer to the end than I was the last week.
Yeah, you made progress.
I've made progress. Some things have happened that I was not prepared for. I should have seen it coming. I should have. But I was not fully prepared for it.
Yeah, no, a lot of people weren't fully prepared for it.
However, I'm not going to say I'm having as much of an issue with it as I did initially. So we'll see where this all goes. I don't know where this is going to go, but we'll see.
Well, we should be able to bring you part 2 of our The Last of Us Part 2 coverage pretty soon.
Yeah,
so
I'm hoping for next week.
We're not
no promises.
Yeah.
No promises.
We're not going to put a date on it.
Once I'm done, though, it will happen.
If you really cared at this point, you've already played it or you probably already watched it. But we will bring you our thoughts coming soon.
Yeah.
Soon.
But today's episode is something that you suggested that I'm really excited to talk about, because the more I think about it, the more these kinds of things exist.
Yep.
So explain the premise and what you were thinking about when we were talking about, as you say, lost episodes, lost seasons.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today with the Fans Perspective podcast. We're going to be discussing what I like to call the lost season. What this is, in my opinion, is you've ever watched a show or read a book, perhaps, and as the next book or next season of that show came out, it felt like you missed something. Typically, that's what we call the lost season. And I'm going to be focusing primarily on Game of Thrones due to it being the year anniversary of the last season 8 of Game of Thrones, finishing just past in June. So, wow, it's July. That's crazy.
Yeah, your birthday's coming up.
Yes, sir. For those who don't know me, don't worry about what day that is. But, yeah. So this idea, I've recently been looking at a lot of Game of Thrones content, just remembering how great of a show this was. And for a lot of people, the ending was disappointing. If you listen to our episodes, you've heard us talk about how we felt about it, which is going to be funny because that exact same argument is going to be used against CJ once he finishes The Last of Us.
God.
But
okay. All right, we'll see how this goes.
But I personally enjoyed Game of Thrones season 8. I know you enjoyed it as well. Obviously, let me finish. Let me finish. Because this is a year later and everybody's had a chance to dissect it. Obviously, it has its flaws, right? The writing, the pacing, there's issues with it, right? Can you just say?
Yeah. Oh no. There's clearly issues. No one denies this.
And some character decisions, but a lot of people thought that Game of Thrones season 8 could have benefited from having more episodes, a longer runtime, and a lot of people in certain areas felt like there was a season that they missed. There was a season in between 7 and 8 that just like we never saw, but the characters just kind of went from one place to another, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about the characters that I think are really noticeable to me personally, that there felt like there was a missing season. And I think the first character that really would come to mind between the two of us is Arya.
Yep. I completely agree.
Now, not to say Arya wasn't set on this path, but it seems like in video games terms, she was just a character that you saw on one level, and then like 3 or 4 hours into the game level later, she shows back up, and she was like, yeah, I'm going off to the academy to go train. She just comes back as an assassin. And that's what it feels like we missed with Arya. Arya felt like once season
6.
Once season 6, well, no, I'm really going to say season 7. One season, because was it in Was it?
She
When did she murder Walter Frey?
she
Was that
murdered Walter Frey season 6. It
season
was
7?
it yeah, you're right. It was the beginning of season 7. You're right.
Season
Yeah,
7,
season
right?
7.
So really, with Arya, the lost season for her is between season 6 and season 7, to where she goes from like an assassin in training to a full blown assassin, and you never get to see the full transformation of how that happened. And it feels like there were some episodes missing. Now, obviously, George R. R. Martin is still writing the book series.
Hasn't
Um,
even really covered anything about the Lost Men, or what
the Faceless
the
Men.
Faceless Men. Like
Yeah.
the books haven't delved into that portion of Arya's story in any capacity, honestly.
Yeah, as far as the book goes, they are back a ways. I mean,
Oh
obviously,
yeah, oh yeah. Marjorie's
he
still
take
alive.
yeah he takes a while. Like it's been about
10
10 years since.
years.
Yeah, so he takes a while. But then again, you could argue that's why the Game of Thrones books are so amazing, is
Yeah,
because they
well,
have that level of
I
detail
I
put in.
guess, but I mean, he birthed the first 3 in the span of 6 years. I don't disagree that
I
he
mean, well, you know what? He also worked on side stuff. He wrote,
yeah, he did.
he wrote,
He
what is
wrote
the name of the Targaryen book? Fire and
Fire and
Blood.
Blood, which
Yeah.
once that, Game of Thrones can completely redeem itself when it does that Fire and Blood miniseries on HBO Max in a couple of years. If they decide to take that as like far as they possibly can and do
Oh, it'd
with
be
it
amazing.
what they can, like that will bring everyone back. It'll
Yeah,
bring
that
everyone back.
that book in itself is a good book. So I understand he does other things. I mean, he had a hit TV show that he consulted on for a long time. And then he also writes and he has this process, and then he became mega famous too, because it was like the books were big, but the show was obviously much bigger and put a lot of people on the book. So he's been doing stuff in between that. Like I
Yeah,
said,
that's true.
yeah, so I mean, it's still a long time, and who knows how big this book is going to be, how detailed, how much information it's going to have. But I'm personally, if I'm George R. R. Martin, he's in a excellent position right now, excellent position, because think about it, CJ, my man, he saw exactly what not to do.
Yeah, you're right.
And even though he did consult on season 8.
And I'm sure this is how things are going to end. Bran is
Yeah.
going to be the king.
In some shape or form, it's just the journey is going to be different. It's going to be expounded upon a lot more because it's not Benioff, it's
Yeah, David Benioff and DB Wise.
DB.
D&Ds.
So
D&D.
pretty much before I'm gonna let you go. Pretty much, if you guys don't know, they were tired. They've been for almost 10 years. They've been creating this hit TV show. Millions and millions of dollars, hundreds and hundreds of hours spent. Like that was their lives, and they were tired. And even HBO wanted them to extend the runtime,
For
or
HBO was basically like, we'll give you all the money we have. Keep this going.
keep it going. They were like, they literally told them no. So there's a balance to thing. And I think now having the perspective a year later, it's you can look at it and be like, okay, I can understand a lot more, but. Arya is a character that I feel like we missed a whole training.
Oh my
season.
god, we did. We did.
Yeah. I mean, I understand skipping that story beat and just her coming back and being sweet. That's all we really wanted to see, anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's all. That's all. Basically we saw her get whooped by that one chick in the Wraith or whatever her name is. We saw her get beat down. All of season 6 to the point where she's like running for her life half the time.
Yeah.
And then we saw next thing we know, not only has she like learned how to really fight, like not like kind of fight, but like low key is on par with who is she sparring with? The Hound? Or
she sparred with Brienne.
Brienne. When she sparred with Brienne, like where did this come from?
Yeah, where did all this come from? Because yeah, we saw her. She did use faces before, but just this level of combat ability just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, she's a beast. Like not even like a slight like oh, she's okay at fighting. She's legitimately like one of the best fighters in the series by the time
Yeah,
everything is over.
and it just would have been interesting to see uh where she learned that kind of deal. Again, I get why it was skipped because it's just like, well, they complained about there not being enough dragons for years. So let's just bring her up to par, which I understand, but at the same time, it felt like a piece of her was missing. Didn't have any problems with Arya though in season 8. In all honesty, she's one of the characters that really wasn't tainted. I think she has still like a great
Rep-
reputation.
yeah, yeah, her reputation's
So,
still
yeah,
fantastic.
reputation. Sorry, I can't talk. I had spit in my mouth. But so yeah, that's great for Arya. Do you have any characters that?
Yeah,
Because I have three,
I
but maybe
have I have
you're
a
probably
couple
thinking of
I have
something
a
else.
couple too. We probably are, but I think that we needed, and maybe not even like another season involving to make this character better,
The
but
lost episodes.
just a few more episodes explaining what in God's name Cersei was doing this entire time.
Mm,
Because
I didn't have Cersei on my
you want to
list,
know why I
but
have Cersei on my
I
you want to know why I
respect
have
it.
Cersei on my list? Because literally she is the main villain. There's like at the end of the day, she's the main villain of the show, and she's the most
Correct.
captivating villain of the show because she's the most effective villain of the show.
I
Like
disagree.
I who's more effective than her?
Do you want to have this conversation?
Sure, we like this is kind of a
Okay.
this is a free flowing episode, so
Okay.
it's fine.
Okay. Okay. I'm only gonna sidetrack us for a little bit. Start the timer. No, but Cersei, while being cruel, deceptive, she was smart. After recently going back and reviewing footage of Tywin, right?
Okay,
She
that's fair.
she was no Tywin.
That is
She
fair.
she wanted to be like her father. She was upset that she was born a woman because she never truly got the chance to shine in the way she thought she could. But Tyrion pointed out to her several times, "Hey, you come up with these plans and they don't really work out. They only work out because of your position." And throughout Cersei's entire storyline, that was the case. Remember when she, got the religious people in power and then she ended up getting captured herself.
Yeah.
That was her having this plan and how she was going to ruin the Tyrells, but it came back to bite her. Cersei has multiple points during the story where that happens. And so when we get to the end, like she is very smart, she's tactical, she kills all of Daenerys' generals, but it comes back to bite her in the end. And I understand how they got in the writing room. They were like, well, man, Cersei is queen. She has all the power that she's ever claimed that she wanted in a sense. And she's got ships and all this stuff, and she
But
bought an
like
army. No, no, let me finish.
okay,
Let me
okay.
finish. I think there was more. They should have showed more of her, but at the same time, I don't 100% know what Cersei would have been doing. Like besides her normal, dialogue, which she couldn't have with Jamie because Jamie was gone. She couldn't have with Tyrion because Tyrion was gone. There were no really interesting characters around her. I mean, she had the Mountain and Wyvern at that time. But I kind of understand how in the writing room they were like, well, there's nobody for her to have really intelligent dialogue with unless we introduce a new character, which they didn't have time for.
Yeah, it still just felt
It's
like
weird.
something involving her was missing, if that makes
Right.
sense, because
I feel
she's been such an integral part in so much. But another one that I think about, another person that I think about that you needed another season with, or at least more episodes, is Bran.
Oh,
Um,
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
s-
Bran is very similar to Arya, to where one season is just like, okay, I'm the 3-eyed Raven now, and then the next season he
and
was gone.
and not even like, okay, I'm the three-eyed raven now, and I am and like I am learning how to do this. No, I am like this. I've lost all personality of
All
the original
humanity.
Bran Stark that everyone
Yeah,
remembered.
I'm a robot now. I am
Yeah,
the three-eyed raven.
yeah.
I will not bear children. Like, I completely agree with that. I think again, they wrote themselves into a corner and they didn't know what to do with Bran. Bran was a loaded gun and they were like, "You know what? We're just going to leave it on the table."
Yep, exactly. It wasn't even a loaded gun. It was a loaded bazooka. Because
Yeah.
technically he could have God, the storyline like he's time travel. He's literally time travel. The
I
story
understand not touching it,
I
though.
do too. I do too.
Yeah.
I understand it. But you had this device that could just blow everything out. You could go back to how the first men constructed the wall. You could
Yep.
go back to how the Night King first fell. You can go back to how, like, you saw how the Night King got made. You can go back and get more details into that. Like,
Yep.
just all this stuff that they don't touch. And I understand why they don't touch it, because that is convoluted, complicated storytelling that D&D were too lazy to do after 7 years.
Tired.
They could have hired other writers. Like, that's the thing I don't understand. They could have gotten more people. Miguel Sapochnik, the director of The Long Night, straight up said, "This is what I wanted to do. This is how we could have done it." You could have seen several dire wolves attacking the White Walkers. The White Walkers themselves could have been fighting a lot more if he had just been given more direction and allowed to do what he wanted to do. But no, D&D were like, "This is the script we wrote. Follow this script, do it this way," and this is why we got what we got with The Long Night, which, again, I don't have a problem with, but at the same time, other people that, this is from a podcast that you and I have listened to, that I fully support now, is the fact that with the White Walkers, they also didn't do anything!
Shout out to
Nerd Soup. But when you actually watch that episode, and I'm sorry for screaming, but it really is frustrating, that after Hard Home, this horrifying episode where you see these ice zombies literally come through and stomp on everyone, and then the only way Jon is able to survive is swinging his sword forged with dragon fire at them. And let's not forget, Jon is losing that fight before it happens. Then all of a sudden, when they get to Winterfell, they just don't kill anybody? They just sit there and walk through fire? That's it? Like, no! That's not how this should work! That's not how any of this should work!
Ladies and gentlemen, there goes that passion. I understand.
Sorry, I just had to get that out, because after they brought that up on that episode of Nerd Soup, I agreed.
That was a constraint of time. Realistically, The Long Night should have been 2 episodes.
Yeah, definitely.
Realistically,
it was already it's already an hour and a half long movie.
So
what could 30 extra minutes have hurt?
I mean, they could have made another hour and a half long episode too. Like,
that's true.
Let's be honest, they had the money. So
like, you could have legitimately ended the episode right when all the crypt comes back to life. And, like, everyone is stuck downstairs. And then, like, just imagine it going to black, and all of a sudden you just hear, like, one of the new songs from that season playing in the background. And you're just like, well, Jesus Christ, this is bad.
So that was I wasn't expecting. Did you say White Walkers as your character?
Yeah, I just listed White Walkers as someone else that could have gotten more.
Yeah, they probably needed another episode to like I said, a lost episode or another episode to expand upon that. Because I feel you. The White Walkers didn't, like, the actual White Walkers, not the zombies.
Yeah, not the Wicks. The Wicks did their thing.
Yeah, they went off.
The supposed super strong, super powerful, can't be killed except with dragon glass.
We've seen them be killed before.
But only with dragon glass.
Then they had a bunch of dragon glass around.
Which also, like, what was the point? What was the point? If you got all this dragon glass and you make season 7 all about getting this dragon glass for this fight, because we know that dragon glass can't necessarily kill it can cause a wit to, like, disassemble, but, like,
no, it can kill him.
Okay, Okay.
That's what they were doing with it.
Okay.
They were
Okay.
killing them.
Because
And to be fair, if I'm a White Walker, if I'm a general, what am I going to go fight for?
fair,
Now,
fair.
should we have seen it? Yes,
Brienne
but
couldn't have fought one of them. Brienne couldn't have fought one of them. You couldn't have had I know we had Theon die fighting the Night King, which was bad, but
yeah, okay.
Brienne couldn't have fought one of them. Podrick, who suddenly could start fighting, has suddenly become a knight all of a sudden. Podrick manned up, and he couldn't have fought one of them.
It would have been cool to see Podrick and Gendry team up.
Yeah, something like
fight 'em.
that. Just.
All right, well, we're not doing rewrites.
Sorry.
I know.
It just,
My man, the White Walkers hit him hard.
God
But
dang it.
yeah, the White Walkers. It seemed like we missed the season with them. I mean, I get they were always mysterious, but we did need some more. We did need to see a little more, and I understand that. Um, my next character. This will be no surprise to you. We're gonna say the best for last, I'm sure. But wow, and I just blanked on her name. Sansa. There we go.
Okay. Explain, because I actually don't think we need as much of a.
Sansa went from, don't get me wrong, the storyline was always developed. It was similar to Arya's, right? She had this storyline where it's okay, you're being passed around. She gets with Littlefinger then, sells her to the Boltons type of deal. And she was learning from Littlefinger, right?
Right.
But Sansa, from season 7, 8, between season 7, season 8, or season 6 and season 7, she just becomes this Winterfell
scheming mastermind.
Yeah, she kind of becomes a scheming mastermind, right? The big deal with Littlefinger's death that people didn't seem to pick up on, I understood, but I get it, was, we didn't see Arya and Sansa talking, and Sansa, they never showed that Sansa was, growing as a character. She was just listening to Littlefinger. And I think we should have seen more of her dealing with I don't want to call it the middle ground, but the delegations or her running Winterfell.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That could have been much, especially when Jon was gone.
Because Sansa has been around Cersei, she's been around Littlefinger, she's been around Tyrion, she's been around a lot of really smart people, and you never really see her have a moment to where I'm going to utilize these things in my favor. She just kind of starts being, what's a good word for, demanding of everybody. One of the things that annoyed me in season 8 was Sansa's relationship with Daenerys. And while I understand her voicing her opinion of how she felt about Daenerys and how she wanted the North to be free all of a sudden, or its own kingdom, it was just weird because I'm Sansa, you don't have any power. It's just weird that she's coming off with this confidence and this demanding nature when Daenerys was coming up there to help them. She did help them.
Yeah.
And she still has all of this resentment or whatnot. And I get her being an angry character because she has been tortured for a large portion of her life. But I would like to have seen her transition into a smarter ruler. We know she becomes ruler, but we really don't have a reason to believe that Sansa becomes a good ruler because she's really just kind of jaded at the end of the series. You don't see any growth from her outside of, the North needs to be free, and that's that.
So I will say that I agree with you that we should have seen more of her ruling style. We should have seen more of, at least once Jon was gone, beyond, because in season 7, and I haven't gone back and watched Game of Thrones. I know I'll do it at some point.
We have the technology.
We do have the technology, but if I remember correctly, with season 7, it was the situation where basically anytime you saw Sansa, she was with Littlefinger, or she was beefing, quote unquote, with Arya, and wasn't actually doing anything where she was the Lady of Winterfell and the true ruler of Winterfell, because technically I guess people were listening to Littlefinger at that time. I guess maybe possibly.
No, it was her because John
Oh yeah,
put her
true.
in
Yeah, John did
charge,
put her in charge.
and
So
she was still listening to Littlefinger somewhat, or she was figuring out what he was doing, but
right.
you didn't
You
see
didn't see
enough
it.
of
Yeah.
that.
I agree with that. And I think that we could have definitely benefited from more of it. I also think we could have benefited at least with the Arya Daenerys situation. I
What
think
situation was that?
the with how not Arya's the Sansa Daenerys situation. Sorry.
Hmm.
I got the names mixed up. With the Sansa Daenerys situation, I think we could have benefited maybe from just an extra episode
Yeah,
involving people talking about that's what I'm looking for. Involving them discussing in more detail why Sansa has issues. And I mean they do talk about it. She brings up the fact that like, well, we don't have a ton of food to feed a whole extra army, or we don't have the like once you are queen, I don't necessarily like my kingdom's been screwed over multiple times
yeah, from the south.
by the South, so I don't want to necessarily be subservient to you just because you helped us. But I also understand why, like, I like they laid it out basically when in
But
reality
not we needed more detail.
yeah, they needed more detail because I think
I
that
think
because I remember specifically that like and people have kind of given like some retrospective to that whole debate where they kind of side with Sansa more now, especially after what happened at the in episode 6 of or
is that the
episode
bells.
yeah the bells and what happened with the bells episode 5 excuse me. um
But you can argue that if Sansa was more welcoming, that may not have happened.
Yeah, that's also a thing. So either way, I think if we had gotten more and just seen Sansa legitimately worried about what's happening, like legitimately worried about just like
Yeah,
taking care of Winterfell itself beyond just holding
she.
power, it might have hit more.
You know what I just thought of because she's also a beloved character. Sansa would have benefited from when Game of Thrones writing was like top tier.
Oh yeah, like
I
season 4 level writing.
Yeah, Sansa would have benefited a lot from that and being able to have good dialogue with other characters because she comes off similar to Bran. She's a robot. She's not really happy about anything. She's not really laughing anymore. I get it. She was a dumb girl before and the world has taught her a lot. I get that. But it would have been cool to see her be, if not somewhat like her mother, to where, even though she was kind of serious and about her business, she still was loving. And that would have been a little more on point for her character to me,
And
rather than, because like I said, I don't know if she becomes the next Cersei, which it kind of seems like in a sense I know she loves the North, but I don't know who she loves specifically in the North. Like I don't
that's
know.
fair.
Yeah,
And the sad part about it is they had the opportunity for that kind of writing to be available because Tyrion was in Winterfell for the first half of that season.
again,
And
we don't know all the details
we
behind
don't,
that.
we
Like
don't, we don't.
you can't. I know you can't always just throw a bunch of money at a problem and hope for it to be solved. But
But when it's HBO throwing as much money as they want to give you,
I get it, bro. I get it. I'm 100% with you. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying there's a lot that goes into that. Um, who you got
all
next?
right, got next. This is, in my opinion, the most obvious. It is
We're talking about the breaker of
the
chains.
breaker of chains
Talking
herself.
about Stormborn.
Good old Daenerys Targaryen.
So
Can I give my thoughts on Dany for a little bit
yeah,
real quick?
sure.
Because my top 3 favorite characters of the show, hands down, for the first 6 seasons, Jon, Dany, Arya. always were. Never really gonna change. Tyrion's a close fourth. Tyrion's a close fourth.
No, I don't mind those characters, but that's not that you said top 3.
Top 3 for me, just because who I identified with, and then I also got to put Tywin up there because Tywin is, as you said, just my god. But the issue that you had with Daenerys and how everything went is twofold. One, first 3 episodes, no issues with how it was season 6 and with season 8. No issues with how Daenerys acted. I have no problem with it because everything makes sense. She's like, okay, let's do this. Let's help. I'm here to defeat this massive threat that we have to deal with. Mm-hmm. Then somehow, some way, as it has been infamously said and dissected and memed about, Daenerys just forgets that the Iron Fleet exists, and her dragon gets shot down.
I don't know. I don't agree with that.
He said those exact words.
Who?
I don't know which one he is.
Well,
one of the writers.
He said that she was focused on going home.
Right. And
yes,
just forgets
about
the Iron Fleet when they talked about the Iron Fleet literally 10 minutes before that scene happens.
I understand that. If you didn't see him, you didn't see him, dude. I don't know.
Like but either way, so one of the dragons dies. This is her second dragon that's been killed, and like the Syrian has been through some, or was it Rhaegal? It was Rhaegal. Rhaegal's been through some stuff, so I understand. Like that had to hurt. That was an issue. But the thing that we're missing here is that somehow, some way, this same character that wants to liberate people and help people, between episode 4 and episode 5, sees someone surrendering and not only decides to burn down the castle, but kill everybody else that she's supposed to be helping.
I disagree.
I know you disagree. I know you do. We just need something to explain to us how we get to that point.
I agree that there needed to be there needed to be another episode in there for sure for that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that like that this wasn't always potentially bound to happen.
I think Jeremy Jahns said it the best. He said foreshadowing. He said something about how foreshadowing doesn't really justify the means, or something along those lines when he made his review. But like most people agree with the decision because all of the factors were there. I think it was just the execution that was the problem.
Yeah.
You got to remember that Dany goes to the north, right?
Yep.
Jorah dies.
Yep.
Missandei dies.
Yep.
Dragon dies.
Yep.
Rhaegal dies. Everybody is celebrating Jon.
Yep.
Jon is the rightful heir to the throne. You're Daenerys. You're up at this place alone. The only person you got is Grey Worm, who you don't really rock with like that and has no penis. I'm sorry, but it's true. So Daenerys, with that being the case, all right, go run the army. So Daenerys is alone. They killed his dragon. Cersei personally killed her best friend, and they're like, okay, hey, if the bells are ringing, that means they surrender. Now you hear these bells, all right, and you looking at King's Landing. King's Landing, this place, is literally where your family was destroyed. Family was destroyed. Best friend's dead. Jorah's dead. He's like a lover, but he's not a lover. And you feel like Jon has betrayed you because who you also loved and were falling in love with because he.
But how has Jon betrayed her?
Finish.
Okay.
Because she told him. She said, "Don't tell Sansa." Because that's the reason why Varys died.
True.
Varys
You're
died
right.
because Jon told Sansa, who told Tyrion, who told Varys, and then that's all over.
Yep.
So she felt like John. So and then they showed the scene where she wasn't eating before Varys died because
She was
they
worried Varys poisoned the food.
yeah, they were thinking yeah. So it shows everything that it needs to be. It was just not executed, in my opinion, properly.
Yeah.
Because so Cersei was talking mad shit, killing dragons. Excuse
Oh,
my language. Sorry.
I will. I might keep it in there. Who cares?
Yeah, the passion. She talking madness, killing dragons, killing my best friend, and you got the nerve to just ring some bells and
And
you
hope that I'm a surrender.
yeah, no, and you gonna say you surrender? You started all this. Like literally the escalation, if you remember in season 7, was because Cersei was so cunning and tactical and she did cut off a lot of, Daenerys' allies and so on and so forth. But I understand her snapping. Also, I don't really know how you emphasize how inbred Daenerys is either. I mean, I'm not saying that to be funny,
No,
but
you're right. You're absolutely right.
percentage wise, due to her Targaryen heritage, she's like 70% her father, who was the Mad King. So I understand her having a psychotic break in that moment. I get that. It
Right.
just could have been executed.
It could have been executed better. Like for example, I remember there was one like meme that got made after everything happened, where when the bells are ringing, every time a bell tolled, you saw a black and white flashback of someone dying.
Yeah.
And like when that happened, you could see what was going. You kind of saw what was going through her head. And
That
you're
would've been-
like,
yeah, that would've been sweet.
That would have worked. At least it would work better than what we got. And I don't.
Still an amazing episode.
Oh yeah, if you watch it just straight up, it's fun to watch.
Oh, I can't wait to give you this comparison.
If you watch
I think
it
next week.
If you watch it straight up, it's fun to watch. I hate you. Oh God. If the ending of part 2 is like this, I'm going to just Jesus.
It was fun. It was fun to watch. It was. I get what they were going through. They definitely cut corners, and they were like, we're going to focus on certain things, because the tension in that episode, or if maybe it's the next episode, is crazy.
Oh yeah, it's the next episode.
Especially when Arya is like running around the city.
Oh yeah, that's
on the
nuts.
dragon and stuff. Crazy.
That is nuts.
But yeah, Daenerys. There needed to be, if not another season, it's for season 8 of Game of Thrones. How many? It was 6 episodes, 7 episodes.
It was 6 episodes of season 8, 7 episodes of season 7.
Yeah,
And we normally get 10. And
we realistically needed 8.
I could have been cool with just 10 of each. Give us 10 in season 7 and 10 in season 8.
I agree, but we needed at least 8 for this season. At least 8.
Yeah.
And those episodes that would have filled up the arcs of Arya, Bran, Sansa, Daenerys.
And I've got one more that I have to mention.
Who you got?
Not fully, but partially. The arc of Rhaegar Targaryen. Not Jon Snow, Rhaegar Targaryen.
His name is Aegon.
Aegon Targaryen. Because
that's prequel territory.
What do you mean prequel territory? We literally just need more explanation as to like why this matters, because it is this big hidden thing, and it ends up just not meaning anything.
I don't think it will in the books either.
Oh God.
In all honesty, if I know George the way I think I knew George, I mean, Rhaegar was a Targaryen. He was next in line for the throne. Robert killed him. What else do you need to know? Robert literally would have killed Jon as a baby.
Right.
And that's why it was a secret.
But, so with that being the case, now that he is actively here, I feel like you just could, like, they could have done more with more people could have found out. It would have been much more entertaining, in my opinion, if more people had learned that Jon was supposed to be the rightful heir to the throne. Shoot! Yeah. Why not bring up the fact that Jon is the rightful heir to the throne during that post-Daenerys murder meeting that they had to plan everything out?
I agree. I think Jon should have ended up on the Iron Throne.
Like that should have just been.
I think that would have been a far better ending.
Not to mention
With
he's happy. He was happy with his exile. I actually
yeah,
think it would have been more fitting for him to just not be happy being king because Game of Thrones ain't about being happy.
correct.
But
Yeah.
that's beside the point. Either
Um,
way, we both agree that Game of Thrones season 7 and season 8 needed more explainer time. They needed more episodes. They might have even needed an extra season if we're being real.
it could have been a prequel season that
Just
would have explained, like you said, missing key points. But there's a lost season in there.
yeah.
Out of throughout Game of Thrones. That I just thought would be interesting to talk about. Now, did you have anything else you wanted to mention for Game of Thrones?
For Game of Thrones, no. I think I've gotten all my venting out. Like I said, this is a much more loosey goosey episode. It happens.
Yeah. If I had to see a prequel to Game of Thrones, boy, would Robert's Rebellion be hype.
So the interesting thing about Robert's Rebellion is I think just like Fire and Blood, there's probably enough for a season. Not for like, I feel like Robert's Rebellion.
A couple seasons, so you could probably do like 2 or 3.
Really, I feel like you could do a solid one, hit all the main points, and like.
Yeah, you could, but you want it to be a season 8, or you want it to be a season 3 or 4.
True. That's true. Because
boy, I love Robert's Rebellion.
Robert's Rebellion is like, for those, because I know there are people out there that are just regular, like didn't do the deep dive, like just like watch Game of Thrones, thought it was awesome, loved it, but we never got the full explainer of how Robert's Rebellion unfolded.
And then,
my God.
And that gives you your answers about Rhaegar. You get to see at least more of Rhaegar and Lyanna and all of that. And even Brandon, before it'll be so because we know the future, you're going to be like, oh my God. You'll be like, no, not like this.
Yeah.
Not a bore.
Yeah.
Not a bore.
Literally. Like Robert Baratheon back when he was Robert Baratheon was a beast.
Or even Tywin at the end of it, and when he sieged King's Landing and killed all the people.
There's so much
there's
stuff that happens.
There's a lot, but I think we had one more. Because I'm not sure how we're doing on time.
We're this is looking like this is gonna be much more of a regular episode than a short one, but that's perfectly fine. We're trying to get more content out there. So now there's another type of lost season that exists beyond the stuff that happens that's missing within an episode. The other kind of lost season that exists is the season that doesn't happen after the series ends.
Never came to existence.
And we're not saying that this season was planned and it just got canceled. We're saying that this season just never happened. Like the creators just decided that we didn't need it. And some examples I can think of are the last season of Teen Titans, the original Teen Titans series. Tara comes back to life, and we don't know what happens after that. We never get closure from that.
No, we did.
No, we didn't. She came back to life at the very end of that season, and they never they did a movie.
Oh, you're talking about when they brought it? No. There's an episode for that. When Beast Boy finds her and she's the school student, she doesn't have memory of the Teen Titans.
I promise you, I don't remember that episode existing.
Yeah, check that out.
All right, okay, then maybe.
So that is the very last episode of Teen Titans is with Tara coming back to life, and she has no memory of Beast Boy at all. She has no memory of any of that and having powers or nothing. And the episode just kind of, I believe so. And then they had the movie afterwards, and the movie was the ending. Okay. But yeah, she has no recollection of them. And Tara's just like, well, sometimes you got to let go of the past. And she disappears into the crowd.
Okay. Yeah, then that's
fine.
It's
a very sad last episode.
That's true. I'm trying to think of a couple other examples where we give our main topic.
Well, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender. It never was confirmed that this happened. It's something that's like a fan theory that there was always supposed to be a book 4 talking about how the Fire Nation and Aang kind of rebuilt after the war
Yeah,
and
them going to
rectified
track
everything.
down Zuko's mom,
But which they end up doing in the comic books.
which we're going to touch back on in a minute.
But the one that really comes to mind here for me and for both of us, honestly, is Avatar's sequel series, The Legend of Korra. Um, in my opinion, Korra needed one more season.
Which is odd because it did have one more season than the original
Yeah,
series.
it had four. However, it had fewer episodes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's only 12 episodes per season of Korra, and there's 20 per season of Avatar.
Gotcha. So yeah, they need another season.
Yeah, they needed
For
another
those,
one.
yeah, we haven't. Uh,
We haven't
we
done our
haven't
Korra
actually.
deep dive yet
Yeah,
because we need to watch it. I need to rewatch
rewatch
it,
it. Yeah.
and Shelby has the Blu-ray copies. Those things are sold out everywhere, so I'm gonna have to give
I'll make
him.
sure you get it, or maybe we could watch them together one day. Who
Yeah,
knows?
we'll figure it out. But
Well, just to speak on Korra, for those who aren't familiar, Avatar: The Legend of Korra is the sequel series, like CJ said, to Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's about the next Avatar in the Avatar cycle named Korra, who is a waterbender and her adventures. Skipping to the very end of the show.
yep, because we don't want to. We're like I said, we'll save everything else for this deep dive.
It feels unfinished. It feels like there is more, and they definitely do have more because they've written a book. There's a comic series to it. It isn't as expansive as the original Avatar because obviously that one existed for longer. But here, one second.
No problem.
I'm gonna go look up the title.
Okay.
Okay. The name of the book is called Turf Wars. And I have not read it, but it picks up right after the show, where the show ends. I'm not sure if Nickelodeon didn't want to renew Korra for another season.
Who knows what Nickelodeon's plan involving any of this was? Which
Yeah.
that's something else we'll discuss because the whole release of Korra was a cluster.
It's very interesting. But her and Asami decide that they love each other, which was not a relationship that was set up.
It gets developed throughout
I just
season
said that
4,
well.
but yeah.
I just said that well. And they go to the spirit world and they just kind of disappear, and that's the way the show ends. Which is not a really satisfying ending for The Legend of Korra to me personally. And I'm gonna read this book. Hopefully, when I read it, you get more understanding about how Korra is dealing with her problems. Like, I mean, she faces a lot of her problems in season 4 kind of head on, and she overcomes them. But it never feels like she fully recovers to me from the trauma that took place in season 3.
Yep. I will agree that it feels like they never actually but she never fully recovers. Again, I haven't rewatched season 4 in a minute, so maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but
I know she kind of gets her self confidence back in season 4 when dealing with Kovira, but the whole issue with the Avatar state and the Avatar cycle being broken, as well as
never fixed.
Yeah, as well as the Avatar state not really being as strong in Korra overall as it was in the last Airbender, but just kind of like her being beaten down so much for it to just end, and it's just like, oh, she's going to the spirit world because living here is kind of like too tough, and she's gonna bring Asami with her, and they're just randomly in a relationship now, even though it's not really confirmed, because at this point in time, and Nickelodeon wasn't really feeling it, but now SpongeBob is asexual, so but you know they're in a relationship and they go to the spirit world, and it's just like, what? Like, that's not enough to end a series.
I think that the biggest issue that you also have is that there is no complete full circle for Korra's character, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like
because
there is she has what's called a negative story arc. She has a negative character story arc. She starts off as a super confident prodigy, and as the show progresses, she is beaten down and becomes like broken and damaged. And it's just weird because the Avatar's whole journey is about becoming, the Avatar and becoming this
right.
powerful being and using that power. I mean, really is how you see fit, but to balance out the world. And Korra just leaves. Like, I mean,
And
I get it. They are the bridge between the spirit realm and the regular realm, I guess. But it's just weird that she just kind of like leaves with Asami.
that makes sense. I sorry, not that it makes sense, but yeah, that's basically what happens. And I think that what I'm saying that needed to happen is I really wish as a fan we could have gotten Confident Korra back.
Yeah, I do too.
I think if there had been a season where we see
You didn't.
Korra really get her full confidence back and really go back to being
I
the
mean,
the
and
next avatar
she
that
kind of does at the end of season 4 when she's fighting Kovera again, and they scrap for the second time, or it may be the third time when they fight and they have their last fight. She does kind of get it back. But it's just weird that the way the show ends, it feels unfinished. It feels like there's loose ends to, like you said, Korra is not the same, and not saying that she has to be the same at the end of the show, but it doesn't feel good to just see her like, oh, okay, I'm out.
yeah, that
Uh,
it's just not the same. And
yeah,
then
there's like no pressing reason for her to go to the spirit realm. She
and
just kind of goes
and then
because.
and then again, another thing that just doesn't really fix itself is we don't know what happens with the avatar state, and we don't know what happens with the avatar cycle.
Correct.
And there's so much lore in the avatar world, especially involving the spirit realm. There's gotta be a way to go back and rectify it. There has to be.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
we just have to kind of wait and see.
Yeah, according to the books, it's gone. But we will see. Who knows what they'll do next? Kyoshi, hopefully. Um, but,
But yeah, we'll just have to wait and
but yeah,
see.
there should have been more to that ending. Even even a short solution that they could have did after they fight Kovera and that whole situation ends. What if they would have jumped forward like 5 years, and then you would have saw just what was going on with the group.
That would have been great.
And then her and Asami decide to go, hey, something feels off in the spirit realm. We're going to check it out. Asami, I'm coming with you.
That would that would have been great. I wouldn't have
Yeah,
had any issues with that. It's just frustrating. That's all it is. It's just
yeah,
a lot of it's frustrating. But that's kind of what we've been talking for a good hour, give or take.
yeah.
Maybe closer to 50 minutes depending on editing. But either way, like we said, this is more of a free-flowing episode just to kind of get our thoughts out there. We have been talking about Game of Thrones, and we've been talking about Korra, and just kind of what we think was missing, and we thought it'd be a good thing to talk about today.
Yeah, but thanks for joining us, especially if you made it this far in.
Yeah, we really do appreciate it. Thank you for listening to, especially my ranting about certain aspects of Game of Thrones.
Daenerys Stormborn,
Y'all,
Breaker of Chains,
people don't
The Unburnt.
people don't understand how much I wrote for this show. Like it literally
It's still a great. The sad,
it,
the sad part about
it's
Game of
still
Thrones.
amazing.
I
It's still
understand that
incredible.
it didn't go out with a bang, but it's still literally one of the best TV shows of all time.
But because it didn't go out with a bang, it's put up there with shows that were great, like Dexter and How I Met Your Mother, and all these
Uh,
other great shows that
that end
that end badly, and it doesn't go out like Breaking Bad, which everyone says goes out on top.
I disagree.
You're one of the few people I know. I've never seen Breaking Bad, so I can't talk about it. But you're
My argument for Breaking Bad is actually that Breaking Bad went on too long. It's the exact opposite. Breaking Bad has like a pointless season. I feel like
okay. I haven't seen it.
no
So.
purpose. Yeah.
But either way. But again, guys, thank you so much for joining us this week. Like you said, I will be working on trying to get through The Last of Us Part 2, so that way we can bring you our thoughts on the ending that apparently has the internet on fire. Please don't spoil it for me. I'm begging you all. But that's going to do it for us. My name is CJ.
I'm Shelby.
And this is A Fan's Perspective, signing out.
We'll catch you next time.